It's Wall Street Weekly, where we check the charts and check the suits. It's Wall Street Weekly, where we check the charts and check the suits. Wall Street Weekly, where we check the
Weekly update, I don't sleep, I scheme. Got my hand in the markets, eyes on the green. Options to equity, bonds to the tech scene. Turn bear traps to bread, that's a PortCorp dream. Street charts and shark suits, I move like a dawn. Make the bell ring early just to prove I'm on. This ain't no newsletter, it's war on a beat. Wall Street Weekly, where the wolves don't sleep. I don't trade feelings, I trade formations. Got breakouts time like Fed rate statements. Puts in position when the yield curves flip. Take gains from the top, never die with the dip. I seen bulls get reckless, bears get crushed. Retail hype turn legends to dust. So I read the tape like scripture at dawn. With a watch list colder than a hedge fund pawn. The CNBC, nah, this is street taught. No blue blood trust, just what grit brought. We don't pray for the pump, we prepare for the play. I front run fate every earnings day. Weekly update, I don't sleep, I scheme. Got my hand in the markets, eyes on the green. Options to equity, bonds to the tech scene. Turn bear traps to bread, that's a PortCorp dream. Street charts and shark suits, I move like a dawn. Make the bell ring early just to prove I'm on. This ain't no newsletter, it's war on a beat. Wall Street Weekly, where the wolves don't sleep. Stock split profit, I'm a scalping beast. My calls eat good while they beg for a piece. Inflation print, I decode that live. Cause CPI lies don't keep me deprived. Dot plot hawkish, I pivot and slide. Ride momentum waves like I'm surfing tide. Jerome make a move, I'm 2 steps ahead. I hedge like a ghost while they begging the Fed. This for the ones who don't flinch in the red. Who read Powell's tone like it's Morse code said. The game ain't fair, but my mind got wealth. And Wall Street Weekly is the cheat code itself. From the pits to the screens, I done seen it all. Ticker by ticker, I watch them rise then fall. But I rise like rates in a hawkish minute. While they play checkers, I run the whole clinic. Fed talk, got them guessing, I just chart in silence. This that grit from the grind, not Ivy compliance. I'm the trader your fund manager warned you about. I teach you how to move when the weak tap out. Weekly update, I don't sleep, I scheme. Got my hand in the markets, eyes on the green. Options to equity, bonds to the tech scene. Turn bear traps to bread, that's a PortCorp dream. Street charts and shark suits, I move like a dawn. Make the bell ring early just to prove I'm on. This ain't no newsletter, it's war on a beat. Wall Street Weekly, where the wolves don't sleep.
So check the levels, check the vibe, check the ticker before the ticker checks you. Welcome to Wall Street Weekly, and welcome to the other side of the market. This is Wall Street Weekly with BC PortCorp. Listen deeply, charts bleed reality. Green mixed with red, every ticker got a story, every dollar got a thread. Profits speak softly, losses scream loud. Bull markets whisper but the bears roar proud. Investing's more than digits, it's decoding minds. Patterns in the chaos, treasures you can find. Eyes wide open, stay sharp and precise. Cause easy money's myth, truth comes with a price. Watch the money flow, truth hidden in disguise. Risk what you know, wealth favors the wise. If you ain't thinking deeper than your pockets leak weekly, get your mind right. Get your mind right. Tune in to Wall Street Weekly. With BC PortCorp, we're making sense of the madness. Truth in the numbers, clarity from the vastness.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is time for another episode of. Oh, yep, my mic is working. I don't know why it was telling me it's not. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's time for another episode of Wall Street Weekly. I'm glad we've got everyone tuning on in today. We've got some big news to talk about. I teased some big news this morning on Good Morning Crypto about AMD. I said I would talk about it later. And, I had the chance to talk about it today because I got the day off work. We've got a few people over here on YouTube. We've got a few people over here on X as well. Thank you for tuning on in on X. If you throw some chats in over there, I can see them on my streaming gear. So if you have any stock picks you would like me to take a look at today, go ahead, throw them on in there and we will get to those. But before we get to all of that, let's say hello to everyone in the chat. We've got Steve Hickey in here. He was just over in Trade Intuition's channel. Trade Intuition is in here as well. If you guys aren't following them, you definitely need to be. Let me drop that link in the chat everywhere. I've got that here. There you go on X, and here you go on YouTube. So if you're not following Trade Intuition, definitely should be. Thanks for sending everyone over here. We've got Dylan VA in the chat as well. We've got Chris Klein in here. Appreciate y'all for tuning on in today. Let's dive into some of this market that we've been looking at, because we were talking about some continuation into the day for some of these sectors. We've been getting a little bit of continuation for some of the big names, but we are seeing some pullback in the tech sector. So let's get on over to that heat map for the stocks. We've got a little bit of pullback on Apple and Nvidia, both sitting down almost 1% right now. We've got Apple down 0.77. We've got Nvidia down 0.89 right now. It is approaching that 0.9% to the downside right now. We've got Berkshire Hathaway up 0.7. We've got Amazon up 0.55. We've got Eli Lilly up 0.96. ExxonMobil up 0.94. We've got Tesla continuing to the upside that we were talking about this morning. In the pre-markets, it was up 2%, and we're sitting up 4.43% right now on some Tesla. We've got P&G down 0.75. We've got Microsoft up 2%, just hit that 2%. We've got Google up 1.16, and we've got Meta up 0.5% right now. We didn't get any heavy data coming out of our economic calendar today, so we're just going to skip over that one. We might not have any heavy economic data coming out the rest of the week either. That government is still shut down, so we don't get all the economic data that we normally get. We will keep our eyes on that. If they open back up, we might get a little bit of market movements throughout the week off of some economic data. But we do have some news articles to talk about today, so let's get on over to that. It's not on the right screen. Here we go. The big news of the day that I didn't have time to talk about this morning was OpenAI and AMD coming together with a chips deal. OpenAI, one of the biggest producers of an AI bot, pairing with one of the biggest producers of chips for not GPUs but CPUs, came together with a massive partnership. I was going to talk about it this morning. Kind of glad that we get to talk about it this afternoon, because we can also look at the chart. There wasn't a whole lot of information to look at in the pre-market. It was just a big CME gap. We have seen just a little bit of pullback off of that move towards the upside, but it does look like it's trying to hold a key level I had talked about this morning. So AMD Stock surges 38% on Monday to $226 ahead of the opening bell, rebounding after it fell 3% on Friday. The rally brings the semiconductors producers year-to-end date gain to 81%. I've been talking about AMD for a while now. They've been coming out with more and more partnerships, and they're one of my favorite stocks to kind of hold. I'm a big nerd, I build computers, and I'm a big fan of AMD's products. The chip maker will deploy its AMD Instinct GPUs to help power OpenAI's fast-growing infrastructure, with the first deployment scheduled for the second quarter of 2026. In total, all the AMD chips deployments will extend 6 gigawatts of power to OpenAI across multiple generations of AI infrastructure. Under this definitive agreement, OpenAI will work with AMD as a core strategic compute partner to drive large-scale deployments of AMD technology, starting with AMD Instinct MI450 series and rack-scale AI solutions, and extending to further generations, AMD noted in a statement. So this is not just a one-time partnership. This is a partnership on their current highest model of their GPU, but also further GPUs that they will be releasing. And we'll follow this story as it progresses, but this is a massive move. One of the biggest AI companies out there partnering with the second best in the GPU space. You know, NVIDIA is number one, but they've got a very, very, close-knit partnership with several other companies out there. And this kind of left the door open to someone else to take up a big role in the AI space. You've got NVIDIA partnering with Intel, and that was talked about before on one of my previous shows. So this kind of left the door open to someone else taking up that role in the GPU space to provide that for an AI company. You've also got some AI coming out of China and some big GPUs coming out of China as well. We will talk about that one on a later date. I'm still breaking down some of that news, but it looks like there's going to be some competition for NVIDIA going forward. NVIDIA will no longer have the absolute exclusive it has had in the AI space, and it is about time that someone came nipping at NVIDIA's heels. So I will be watching this going forward. I love using ChatGPT, and AMD makes some decent GPUs for a much cheaper price than NVIDIA does. So keep your eyes on this one. I don't think that hype train will be stopping anytime soon. We've all seen how AI has been doing, not only in the crypto side of things, but also on the stock side. So definitely a big partnership. And we had this one as well. The everything recession. We've been talking about that on Piper Academy quite a bit. I've been talking about it here on Wall Street Weekly and on Good Morning Crypto as well. We've talked about it on Hodl the Line with CCM and Bedell. We have been talking about it because, there are some warning signs. And this article kind of touches on some of that. So definitely worth the look here. Last week, the federal government shut down with both Republican and Democratic plans to finance ongoing appropriations, failing to garner enough votes to pass the Senate. Donald Trump did not seem overly worried about the situation, calling it an unprecedented opportunity to throttle funds going to blue states and fire federal employees. The stock market surged higher and the bond market did not react. But up to 750,000 workers will be furloughed, losing out on 400 million in wages in a day. Every week that the government remains closed will cut the annualized GDP growth rate by 0.1 percentage points this quarter. Mark Zandi of Moody's Analytic estimates. The White House forecasts that a month-long shutdown would lead 430,000 Americans to lose their job. The economy is already weakening in some important respects. Might this be enough to tip it into a recession? One might say, of course, not GDP. Of course not. GDP is rising at a strong 3.8% a year. Yes, certainly, another might argue. Businesses have been on a months-long hiring freeze, and the jobless rate is starting to tick up. No, the country is in the midst of a massive technology and infrastructure boom. Yes, confidence is sinking, wage growth is slowing, and the default rates are rising. No, the Federal Reserve is cutting interest rates, flushing cheaper money to credit-starved borrowers. Yes, the trade war and the White House immigration policies are causing Trump slumps in Las Vegas and other communities. No, consumer spending has remained remarkably resilient despite high prices. And all of these points are points that we have hit over and over again. The GDP is, kind of growing. But when you take into account that a lot of that growth was because we saw the tariffs really impacting our GDP rates, then you're not really seeing GDP grow at the rate that you would want. We talked about that on a previous show, that the big factor in GDP increasing to that 3.8% year over year was mainly because we had negative GDP on prior months because of the front running of tariffs. When you have your imports overweighing your exports, it impacts your GDP growth rate. We've talked about the fact that businesses are having hiring freezes and the jobless rates are kicking up. That was a big part of the reason that the Federal Reserve decided to cut those borrowing rates. We haven't really seen a massive impact of that just yet. It does take about 6 months to start seeing the effects of a rate cut, and we will just have to see if we can walk this fine line to keep us from going into the recession, if we can actually get the labor market to strengthen just a little bit, because you need a stronger labor market and people earning money to have people spending money. We've talked about how wage growth has been slowing. That is a big factor in why inflation pressures feel a little bit harder than normal. We've had the dollar completely losing strength, and that has been a bigger part of why things feel like inflation is higher. It's not necessarily that inflation is higher. It is that your dollar is completely losing its strength. We've been taking a look at that dollar chart over and over and over again, and we will take a look at it here in just a little bit. And let's dive a little further into this article, though. Today, the economy has several stories to tell. Mike Wilson, the chief investment officer of Morgan Stanley, argues that we have been in a rolling recession for 3 years, and an apt term capturing the queasy, bewildering state of the financial world. Downturns have afflicted sector after sector, region after region, and many of these mini busts resolved into mini recoveries. The technology sector is flourishing as the housing market and manufacturing industries flail. Overall, the economy has performed fine. Still, and a few more stories turn darker. The country might be in trouble. So, this is definitely something we will continue to watch as it goes forward. There's a lot to be concerned about, but there's also quite a bit of hopium. And that's why you see that back and forth in that previous part of the article is, yes, there's signs that you could see a recession. There's also signs that you could not see a recession. And as we walk this fine line between recession and not recession, we will continue to see people worry. We will continue to see sectors of the economy kind of get hit and then recover a little bit. And as long as you're properly prepared, there is always an area to make some money. So not too much more to really go over into that article. It is a very, very long article. And for those of you that would like to read that for yourselves and kind of make some of your own decisions off of it, I will drop that in the chat so you can take a look at it later. There's that for you in YouTube, and there's that for y'all over on X. All right, so we did want to talk about a few assets today. The big one being AMD. It did create a massive gap towards the upside. If y'all have any stock requests you would like me to take a look at today, go ahead, throw them in the chat for me now, and we will get to those after we get through our normal routine here. So we did want to take a look at a few of these indices. They have been absolutely ripping towards the upside, making those new all-time highs over and over again. Here's the S&P 500 for you. Let's zoom that on out to the weekly so we can get that better view on our fib extensions here. I see a request for SOUN. We can take a look at that for sure. Let's get this pulled on up for a new fib extension because it's been a little while and we've gotten some more upside moves here. So new fib extension pulled on up here so we can see what we might be looking for on the S&P 500 as we continue to make new all-time highs. I see bull requested as well. Can take a look at that one. All right, S&P 500 did end up getting above the platinum pocket. That is an area we have talked about over and over again after we had saw some resistance on that golden pocket and we really got that dip towards the downside. We started seeing the dollar really lose some strength, and that gave not just the S&P 500, but a lot of our assets a strong move towards the upside here. RBOT, haven't heard of that one? Can take a look at it for sure. All right. So we are waiting to see how this money flow starts reacting at our one line here and a target that we've brought up before. That's going to be $6,868. You know, I wouldn't fade this massive uptrend just yet. You're starting to see a little bit of sideways momentum here on the weekly, but you zoom this on in to the shorter time frames here and you can see some nice cooled off charts as we've slowed down just a little bit on the strength that we've been moving towards the upside. We have plenty of room to continue running as that dollar remains weak. This is why you've seen a lot of your assets continue to go to the upside, and that's why we will take a look at the Dixie here in just a second. We've got nice strong support directly below us at 6,551. So if we do get a little bit of pullback on the S&P 500 after seeing that new all-time high being made, that is an area of keen interest for me. Let's make that a little bit thicker so we know it's a higher term time frame bouncing zone. That is an area to kind of keep your eye on if we do start getting some pullbacks from that one line there. Zooming on in, taking a quick look at that 15-minute, you can see here on the 15-minute we've started to also lose a little bit of steam on the shorter term time frame. If you wanted to pull up a fib extension here from the local time zone, you can kind of see where we've been hitting all over again, and that's coming all the way back to the 50% line on our fib extensions for the short time frame. We are seeing a little bit of resistance on that level, so to see some pullbacks off of that, not too unexpected, as you are seeing a lot of toppiness on the MACD and that prime oscillator as well. We just switched from green to red after our third in a row reversal signal on that shorter term time frame, and our money flow is in the red here. So there's two things to kind of keep your eye on. a little bit of sideways momentum in this area on the shorter term time frame would allow for some continued cool off on the higher term time frame. That 382 on our local area is coming in as some support. That's $6,703. If we don't hold that level, coming all the way back down would kind of be something to keep your eye on, and that would really give you some strong cool off on the higher term time frame, a little bit better than some sideways momentum would. So those are those two kind of areas I would keep my eye on toward the downside. That upside target coming in at $6,868. So that's kind of that next area I would really watch for the upside if we can get above that 50% line, which is our resistance for now. Hopping on over to the Russell 2000. Russell 2000 making some new all-time highs. It hasn't been at these levels ever. You know, we did struggle to make new all-time highs for a while now, and you've seen that risk on sentiment being completely different. Let's get that horizontal drawn on out from where we saw our last all-time high. Let's get that drawn out there. That was our area back in October of 24, and that previous all-time high was way back here in October of 21. So we haven't had a real good risk on sentiment in quite a while. To kind of see a little bit of pullback on top of that area would not be too unexpected. We did see some resistance at that all-time high when we got up there, and then we saw a little pullback, a nice strong bounce off of that platinum pocket, and some continuation towards the upside there. I would like to see us hold that 2,466 area as some support. That would also give you a little bit of some cool off on the shorter term time frames. Your daily is looking a little nice for some continuation, but it is a little overheated, so keep that in mind. We can definitely continue towards the upside just a little bit more, but it's definitely looking a little bit primed for some pullback as you've remained on the top side of this prime oscillator for quite a while as you've made all of these new highs. So definitely still in an uptrend, but you are losing just a little bit of momentum here. Zooming on in, taking a look at that hourly, you can really see the toppiness here on the hourly as we had that secondary push up. Came in with a little bit of some divergence there. Would probably have to zoom that on in a little bit further to really get that highlight of the divergence. There we go. You can see that a lot better on the 15-minute. We did have that high and higher high here. As you can see, high, higher high. And you've got a high and a lower high here on your MACD and a lower high here on the prime oscillator as well. So we do have some bearish divergences on the shorter term time frame, and you know that risk on sentiment, while it is still good, it does need a little bit of pullback here. That midline running on our CME gap here is pretty much that strong all-time high that we saw from way back in 2021. I see All Set in the chat. Good afternoon to you, sir. I'm glad you could make it over here. We've also got CCM chiming in over on X. I appreciate you tuning on in. We got a few other viewers on X as well. Not participating in the chat, but I'm glad you are here, and we will get through a few more things that we had our eye on today before we get over to some of your stock requests. So if you do have any other stock requests, we've got 3 for now. SOUN, we've got Bull, and we've got RBOT to take a look at. We wanted to take a look at gold as well. You know, gold making those absolute strong moves towards the upside, but does as well look like it's running out of a little momentum here. You do have those higher lows, but you are struggling to break above that all-time high at $3,970. Let's get this zoomed on out to a higher term time frame. Take a look at that weekly there. That weekly will give you that better area that we were looking at. We had a target at the 1618 that we had talked about, and looks like we've blasted completely through that. Let's get that shorter term time frame support area deleted, and then we will try to find some other areas to take a look at. As you can see here, the shorter term time frame is going to have some different Fibonacci extension levels. This one is pulled from the extremely high time frame here. Get it zoomed out a little bit further so you can see all of that history. It's pulled from our absolute lows back in 08, runs all the way to those highs in 2011, and it is then pulled from the lows of 2015. We struggled to really get above the golden pocket here in the past few years. Once we got above that, it has been an absolute tear towards the upside. So where might we find a little bit of resistance? That's kind of the question that everyone has been asking on gold. I know I have some targets for the end of the year on gold coming in at about 4,200-ish. So we will see if we can get all the way up there. Let's take a look at the shorter term time frame, get that daily pulled up so we can get that short term time frame fib extension pulled on up to see where we might land. And as you can see here, we are struggling with that platinum pocket just a little bit here. Let's get that zoomed on in a little bit. You can see we've started to come in with a little bit of sell pressure as we've gotten above that. Really struggled with that 236 for a little while and have now completely blasted towards the upside, and we're waiting to see if we hold this platinum pocket as some support. That is coming in at $3,900. To see a little bit of pullback, not too unexpected. As you can see here, get this measured move from our area that we had been watching. We've got a 20% move towards the upside at our current price. So to see a little bit of some pullback or some sideways action on top of that platinum pocket would be something to kind of keep your eye on. You can see we did the same thing around the 50%, really gave us some nice cool off. We've got a lot of bearish divergences to keep in mind as well. So if we do get a little bit of strength on the dollar that we will be taking a look at in just a second, could definitely see a little bit of some pullback on gold. Let's take a look at that shorter term time frame, really get you a better look here. You can see we are starting to run into a little bit of some stagnation here as well. You've got your MACD coming in with some curvature, and that prime oscillator getting that curvature to the downside as we switch from green to red. Pump it up, you gotta pump it up. Now I'm okay with pumping up some gold. I would like to see a little bit of pullback so it can get that continuation move towards the upside. Because if you just continue towards the upside like that, the pullback we're going to see off of it is going to be so much harsher. So I do like to see these moves like we did on the 50, where we got that bounce in action, a little bit of push up, some bouncing action, a little bit of push up, some bouncing action, and that push up towards the golden pocket. That is a nice little consolidation phase. Would have been a nice area to kind of jump in on some gold. We haven't talked about gold in a little while on Good Morning Crypto, so that's why we're talking about it over here. I would like to see a little bit of pullback on top of our platinum pocket, really test it out because it was resistance before. I would like to really solidify that as some support to continue on towards the upside, and our next little target of $4,109. LBC in the chat there. If you've got the, well, I can't say that. We don't have the emojis here, but drop those wave emojis in the chat. Let them know that you are happy that he made it. Let's take a look at one other asset we wanted to take a look at before we get over to AMD. We've been talking about how the dollar has been in a nice little consolidation phase underneath the golden pocket, and we continue to make some nice solid sideways action here. That weekly is gaining a little bit of momentum as you're seeing that MACD line break above our indicator line, and it is starting to pick up some speed as it gets that curvature back towards the upside. Your prime oscillator also seeing that nice curve back towards the upside here, and we're really waiting to see how that shorter term time frame reacts as we get a little bit higher. So taking a look here at that daily time frame, you can see that we've got some local resistance to kind of keep our eye on. That's coming in at 98 and 50 points. So that's our first area to kind of contend with here. You can see all of the resistance in that area here and here and here as well. That is our local resistance. We're starting to see some curvature back towards the upside here on the daily, and it's been a little while since we've seen that strength. Got LBC asking if I had a rain day. Yes, sir. We got a rain day out in the country. We got about 1.5 inches of rain at my house, and out in the country they got about 0.8 0.8 of an inch. So a little bit too much rain when you're trying to build a dam. So yeah, not the move you want to see. We like moving dirt, we don't like moving mud. That's not as fun. Although it is fun to play in the mud, it is not fun to work in the mud. So we are seeing a little bit of pullback here on the shorter term time frame. You do have these very equal lows to contend with at 98 points, and we've got a giant CME gap as well. So that is going to be our first real area to kind of keep our eye on. I would like to see us get a touch on the midline of that. We talk about midlines of gaps all of the time. Assets really like to play out on that. If this isn't a bullish trend, that would be the area to kind of keep your eye on. Let's get that drawn on out here for you. That line does come in confluence with our sideways line here. That was 97.72, and that's been an area from way back. So let's get this colored on in. Make sure it's blue, because that is not a filled gap just yet, but we do have the midline to kind of keep your eye on, coming in at 97.83. So that'd be an area to kind of see some bounce on action on top of, especially as we did see quite a pullback here. That is quite in line with the sell-off that we've been seeing in the bond market. Let me get that pulled on up here. The bond market has been seeing a little bit of some sell-off. That's why everything's in the green. The shorter term time frame has been getting bought up just a little bit. As you can see, we're in that downtrend. They correlate the opposite way. If your bonds are getting bought up, your rates go down. If your bonds are getting sold, your rates go up to incentivize buying. As you can see here, your 10-year is finally getting some sell-off. It is not getting bought up as heavily, and that's something we've been talking about for quite a while. Let's get this zoomed on out to see that higher term time frame, because we've got a nice strong support line to kind of keep your eye on. We will see how much this uptrend really pushes us towards the upside here. We do have that higher low, but we are stagnating a little bit at our local resistance, and that's that 4.2 area. You can see our bounces from there, and that is where we rejected off of last time. So 4.2, yeah, that's going to be that area to kind of contend with first. I would look at it being a little bit of a resistance area, especially with how things have been looking. You know, people have been more so buying up your stocks in your other assets as the dollar continues to weaken. They aren't so heavily looking for your safety. And normally bonds do get sold off a little bit on your government shutdowns as people kind of flee to some gold. So that's why you've also been seeing gold get that stronger move towards the upside with the government being shut down. We talked about that over on Piper Academy, and if you haven't been watching Piper or me in the mornings, you're missing on out. So we've got a lot of alpha over there. We got Wick's wife Fine89 in the chat. What's up, BC? Well, it's a rain day, so trying to kill some boredom in the afternoon. You know, we've had a lot of assets to take a look at, and you know, We've got a few stock requests as well. BTC all-time high isn't even newsworthy anymore. Not really. It's kind of just expected at this point. Did the BTC go up? Give me more value in my dollar as everything kind of poo-poo in the bed. That it's kind of been foreshadowed by all the government news been going on. Everyone's focused on that government shutdown. I'm kind of happy about it. You see all of these assets doing a little bit well without some restriction. My opinions on the government. I bet plenty of people have heard it, but I don't care. You can keep the Fed closed forever. But they've got way too much power. Give some of that power back to the states. And if the government shutdown doesn't really show us that state rights are more important than the federal government running our daily lives, then I don't know what will. Do you trade only on stocks? No, I do both crypto and stocks. I mostly invest in stocks for the long-term time frame. Like, here's a stock we've been talking about for quite a while, Aussie, and that is Ookla. It is a nuclear stock. We started talking about it way back. If you can zoom on out just a little bit, we started talking about it way back here in April area, as we watch the new administration kind of lean into some nuclear power. So we were buying way back. We've also been buying some other nuclear stocks. Did do a little bit of selling on one of my other nuclear stocks. So I mostly just invest on the stock side, and then I'll trade on the crypto side of things. So I like to do a little bit of leverage trading on some Bitcoin or some alts to kind of stack my Bitcoin bags. That is basically all I buy on crypto. I just buy some Bitcoin because, I'm a Bitcoin maxi when it comes to investing. Not much economic news, and government is shut down. Nothing to really kill the rally barring some black swan. Definitely. And that's why we've talked about quite a bit about what you might see on the stock side of things that normally tends to impact the crypto side as well. We've been seeing that nice little bit of sell off on our bonds market for a change, and that does bring the rates up, which keeps your borrowing costs a little bit higher, and has really negated some of that rate cut that everyone was hoping would be so bullish. And I kind of said I didn't think it would be so bullish, and it turns out that it hasn't been that bullish, which is what one of my news articles this morning was talking about. But diving on into Ookla, we did talk about a giant CME gap that we wanted to see closed. It finally ended up closing on out here, and we're now back to the 382 on our fib extensions, and once again we saw that come in as some resistance. I did talk to one of my buddies who bought back when I was talking about Ookla, and it looks like he might take some profits here as well. We are getting a little bit of some curvature back towards the upside here on the MACD and the prime oscillator, but it is looking a little bit bearish with how that prime oscillator is sitting in the red as it's giving that curvature back towards the upside, and your money flow is starting to stagnate just a little bit. So not too unexpected, as when we were talking about the lows from way back here at the beginning of the year to our current price point, we are sitting up, let me get that a little bit better, 677%. So I don't know how much more movements people really want to the upside before they start taking some profits, but that's almost 700%, and you can't really sneeze at that. It's never a bad time to take a little bit of profits and try to shoot for a little bit of a lower entry. This does have a massive partnership with the Department of Energy to make new nuclear reactors in the United States as we try to focus on energy dependence. So I don't think the run is over just yet, but definitely could use a little bit of some pullbacks. At least maintain our 2618 on our golden pocket fib extensions, coming in at $125. That is a key area for interest of me as we see that resistance over and over again. I say over and over again, but once and twice on our 3382 here. Justin, Trump to Netanyahu on Gaza talks. Why are you? Oh my God. Jesus. Well, I can't read the rest of that one, but are we going to get political here? I think not. Let's take a look at one of my other nuclear stocks that we've been talking about. It does look like it's trying to get back into an uptrend here, but you're seeing a lot of sell pressure here. I did take some profits way back here when we broke above our one line on the fib extensions, and I was waiting for a little bit of a lower entry. And it looks like for now that platinum pocket is our strong support. That is coming in at $31.64. Do I need to do it? Let's see. Desktop audio. I know I got it here somewhere. Piper sent it to me. It's way up here somewhere. Nope, a little bit further down. Oh, no, he sent it in the Discord. I've got that somewhere. Was it here? No. Oh, well. I have that sound effect somewhere. I just can't find it. But we all know that they don't know what they're doing when Trump came out. I mean, it is an accurate statement on that whole situation, and it's an accurate statement on the kind of the world leaders in general. A lot of them don't really know what they're doing, and they're just keeping the turmoil going because that's just what they're used to. There's a lot of the times where we don't even know what we're fighting for. We're just fighting to fight. It's been said before that once men get into a situation, they don't back down. And that's what we're seeing here is a lot of that turmoil is just because nobody wants to back down. So SMR is trying to make that little bit of an uptrend, but it does look like we're coming in with a lower high here. So I would look for a little bit of a lower entry, and our platinum pocket way down at 31.44 looks to be our strong support. Daily is looking a little bit worrisome as you're getting that sideways momentum on your MACD, and your prime oscillator sitting in the red as that money flows breaking into the red there. Hourly also seeing that toppiness here, money flow barely breaking into the green, and you're already starting to lose that momentum. You've got your double topping on your prime oscillator, your volume starting to slow down just a little bit, but it seems like it's increasing with the sell pressure. So a lot of toppiness here on both the daily and the hourly could lead to a little bit of pullback. We do have our first strong support area coming in at $33.78. I would eye just a little bit lower though. STX looking for future trades. We talked about that at the beginning. We were looking for potentially a little bit of some pullback there to $6,550. That is our strong support area. We do see it being a little bit toppy here on the daily. We're sitting in the red. Money flow slowing down just a little bit. It really kind of just depends on how that dollar goes, and if we do see that nice strong pullback, our first area to kind of keep our eye on was going to be that 382 directly below us at $6,703 before we try to target some upside. Those upside targets coming in at 6,840 and 6,868. Oh, looks like the YouTube was buffering a little bit there. Did you get those levels? If not, I can hit on them again. So we had SMR, and I had a big one to really talk about along with AMD. we've been talking about Serve for quite a while. We broke into our big CME gap that we've been struggling with for a while, and we're looking to potentially get a little bit of pullback here and see if we can hold this as some support. Let's get this zoomed on out to that daily time frame so you can see things just a little bit better here. We're getting that nice strong bouncing action towards the upside. Finally broke into what has been resistance on the higher term time frame. Really waiting to see if we can hold our CME gap coming in at $14 and looks like 65 cents. That is also pretty much in line with the midline of our fib retracements there. So that is our area to watch for some support at. We are seeing the momentum just starting to pick back up here on the daily time frame. I know Trade Intuition looked at this on his show as well. Not necessarily a bad time to see some entries if you hold the 50% line here. Definitely has a lot of momentum. It's starting to pick back up on the daily. You're getting that curvature back towards the upside. Just broke our indicator line. You've got your first green candle here on our histograms. That prime oscillator getting that curvature back towards the upside here. Really just waiting on our money flow. It is sitting a little bit in the red here, so that is our big thing to kind of contend with here. Could definitely see that money flow starting to come back in if we turn what was resistance into some support here. Now we've got Dave Digital in the house. Good afternoon to you, sir. I hope you're having a great day so far. Hope you've been making some money. Oh, that just makes me think I need to check out the trade that I was in. Oh, dang. Hey, I talked about it in Trade Intuition's channel. We said that we were in a hype long, and it looks like it's getting some continuation towards the upside there. So, nice little trade. Hopefully it continues towards the upside. We did want to take a look at AMD as well, because that was the big news article of the day. And then we'll hop into some of those alt requests. We did say we were looking for a little bit of some pullback here. And that's pretty much exactly what we've gotten. We fell below the platinum pocket. That was an area we had talked about this morning, that if we lost that, could definitely pull down a little bit further here. You've got a few levels to kind of keep your eye on. Let's get that zoomed out just a little bit there. There we go. Our first area coming in just under where we are, $202. Let's get that horizontal ray drawn on out for you from our very equal candle bodies way back here. Oh, 203.05. So that's that first kind of area to kind of keep your eye on. We do have some areas directly up below that at 192 as well as the bottom side of a fair value gap, so 192.90. those are your two kind of bouncing areas to keep your eye on here for AMD. If you don't hold any of those, that golden pocket's looking extremely nice at $184. I don't know if I'd look all the way back down to that area, but definitely a nice little area if we don't hold these to come back in and see some continuation off of. The golden pocket has been resistance in the whole trend here. As you see, it was resistance here, it was resistance here as well. Before we got that stronger move towards the downside, it was very strong resistance back here. To see us really retest on the top side of that would be a nice move to see. We don't have to come all the way back down there, but this is a giant CME gap, so at least retesting on the midline of it would be something to kind of keep your eye on there. Another Bitcoin all-time high. Is that what happened here? But yep, there you go. Bitcoin, new all-time high. Boom, boom. Keep pushing, Biddy. This was the trade that we had talked about this morning too. We had our local resistance. We got a very, very quick retest on top of that. You can see breakout, retest, launched off. So that was the trade for the morning that we talked about on Good Morning Crypto. Kind of missed out on it. I was hoping for a little bit lower, and that is not what we got. So missed out on that trade, but I did catch another trade. So it did make a little bit of money. So let's hop up back over to AMD real quick. That daily is looking a little bit toppy there, not too unexpected after a like almost a 40% move towards the upside from your close to your open here from Friday. Let's get that measured on out from close down here to open. 37% move towards the upside. So very, very big gap to at least retest on some of that. We would need to get that drawn on out here. Wrong thing. Let's get that drawn on out. We've got that all the way to up there. Looking like the midline comes in right around that 192 area. So that'd be our second area of interest, but the one that would be more favorable to me for an entry point. I'm on hold on a call, so can't listen in. Disappointing, but hopefully you are here for the rest of the show there. So currently have SXT, XAUT, and red in futures longs. We can take a look at red as well. Let's hop over to some of those stock requests. SOUN, never heard of it, but let's take a look there. SoundHood AI Incorporated, looking like it is in an uptrend there. Let's see what kind of fib extension level we got here from our lows to the highs. Let's get it zoomed on in. Got our lows to our high and to our low. Looking like our golden pocket area is going to be our resistance area to keep our eye on. Let's go from our better lows here. Yep. So from the low before the push towards the upside, that golden pocket is our resistance. Let's get that locked there. So golden pocket is our resistance area, that $18.92. So that is going to be our first area to do some battle with. It is looking a little bit bearish here on the daily. You do have a little bit of some green money flow here, but as you made this higher high to higher high, you did see a little bit of some cool down on your oscillators here. So divergence here as well. Really waiting to see if we can get above that golden pocket and hold that as some support. But it does look like that is a little bit of a resistance area they will have to do some battle with. Daily could use with a little bit of cool off, so to see some sideways momentum underneath our golden pocket would kind of be something to watch for. We've also got a fair value gap here on the daily. Let's get that drawn on out for you to keep your eye on here. Fair value gap wick to wick on those candles. Let's color that purple because that's what we color our fair value gaps around here. Purple and purple, and let's get it locked. So a nice area to see some testing would be on top of our fair value gap to the midline of our fair value gap. We like to either hold the top side as support or the midline as support. That is a little bit of a continuation of trend. Would also give you that continued higher low there and give you that nice little bit of cool off on the daily. That midline's coming in at $16.91 and your top side coming in at $17.32. So that's that little zone to kind of keep your eye on. If you don't hold your fair value gap, you've got that nice bottom side at $16.52. So this is your zone. I would look for the top side to hold. If it doesn't, looking for that gap to be closed out before you try to continue towards the upside there. Let's see how the shorter term time frame is looking. We've got that hourly with some nice triple topping on that golden pocket. So hourly also looking a little bit toppy. Let's get that moved back. There we go. We've got that curvature on a MACD, breaking that indicator line, printing those very light green candles that are smaller on our histogram as well. Money flow really struggling to get back into the green. You do have some curvature back towards the upside on that prime oscillator, but do have that money flow to really contend with there. Let's take a look at a 15-minute. 15-minute also breaking it into the red there. You've got that bearish divergence stacked up as well. So to see a little bit of some pullback and not too unexpected. Breaking below our lows here, $18.11 would probably send you back down to our fair value gap. So sound does look a little bit bullish, could definitely use a little bit of some pullbacks. Let's get it zoomed back out to that higher time frame. You have those all-time highs all the way up here at almost $25. So still got some room to run towards the upside before you start making some new all-time highs. Might have to dive into this project just a little bit. We will add this one to our list here. Crypto stocks. Let's go. Tech services. There we go. Add symbol. There we go. We will add that one to our list so we have it for later. We had bull. I'm sure I know what that one is. We will see though. Bull. Bullish? No, Webull. Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. That is my favorite place to trade stocks. We've got a link in the description for some free stocks if you sign up using my link there. Let's get this zoomed on in just a little bit. We are in a nice little consolidation here. I own Robinhood. I don't own the Webull stock, for full disclosure on that. I just use them to trade on a platform. So we do have a giant CME gap that is closed. So that'll be something to kind of keep your eye on. Let's get candle body to candle body. Let's get that colored blue, and then we will hide the background so we know it is filled in. It was filled in on the way towards the downside there. Looking like we've got our local resistance way up here at $17 and 17, pretty close to 18. So we will get the candle body closes marked out. That's coming in at $17.98, almost $18 there. And then we'll get our wicks marked out as well. $18.97 is going to be that other resistance area to keep your eye on. We are seeing at the bottom side of that CME gap be some resistance. Look at that very strong rejection off of that CME gap. We are struggling to really break into that. We do have some movements inside of it, but looking like we are struggling to get back into it. So Webull, not a bad trading platform. I don't know much on their stock. So definitely looking like we do have a support line underneath us to kind of keep our eye on. We've got some touches from back here and a touch here. So we don't have a third touch just yet. So this is just a potential trend line. Let me get that marked out a little bit better so you can see how long. There we go. And we will get to that marked out as a dashed line. We'll do it dotted so we know. There we go. You can see it a little bit better. That is going to be our strong area to kind of watch for some potential continued bouncing on top of. We've got our one touch. We've got our two touch. We don't have a third touch just yet. So we don't know that it's actually a trend line. We do have some resistance directly above us as well. That is going to be more of a consolidation here. It does look a little bit nice. So you've got your one touch, your two touch, and your three touches. It doesn't, so these are candle bodies. You get a wick touch and then your candle bodies as well. So a nice little consolidation phase. Would look for a potential continued squeeze on that. We will get that as a actual line and we can see those touches a little bit better. So we've got our three touches on our resistance, waiting to see if we get our third touch on our support, and then we could really see that continuation towards the upside. BTC, DD, BTC running. Oh, dang. Yep, I guess that's why my trade's doing a little nice. So we do see a little bit of some toppiness here on the daily time frame. Getting that curvature back towards the downside here. Would like to see us at least get that sideways momentum coming in a little bit stronger with some money flow, but it's really looking a little bit ugly there on the daily time frame. Got your peak seeker, you've got a divergence as well. So really waiting to see if we hold this as some support, get that money flow coming back in. Let's get a local fib drawn as well. We've got our fib retracements from our low to our high there, looking like that golden pocket would be that nice area of interest. So looking like that's coming in at about $13.35. That would be quite in line with that bottom support area as well that we would want to see some bouncing at. So that could give you some nice continued consolidation in this area, really confirm this as some support, and that could potentially get you that move on out of here. If not, that would be a continued move towards the downside here, and looking like that platinum pocket would be that next real area to watch towards the downside, coming in at 1203. If you do break out to the downside, you've got those upside targets I've already marked out towards the upside there. So that was bull. We had RBOT as well, so let's get that one taking a look at. RBOT. Actually, let's add this one to our financial services. Oh, I already had it there. So RBOT. Vicarious Surgical. Never heard of that one. So let's zoom this all the way out. Take a look at our weekly time frame here. See what's going on. Looks like we are in a little bit of a downtrend. We've got some consolidation. Oh, dang. Oh, dang. Quite a move towards the downside there. I don't know anything about this company, so I can't really say much on what they do, but we do have some nice strong support directly below us. Let's get this as a horizontal line and not a horizontal ray. As you can see, we've got all those touches on our horizontal ray there. We'll get this drawn out as a green line, make that a little bit thicker. So that's looking like our strong support. We do have a lot of resistance above us. Let's go off these candle body closes. You can see all the candle body closes directly on $16.84. Let's get that horizontal ray drawn on out as a resistance area. You can see all of that resistance directly above us. Let's get that red so we know. We've also got our resistance directly above that at $19.05. That is more of a local resistance above everything, so we'll get that drawn out as a horizontal ray there. $19.13 going to be our more macro time frame resistance. We'll take a look at some more local fib levels as we zoom this back on in, but it does look like you found your nice strong support at $5.30. You're starting to get some green money flow here on the weekly, and everything's nice and cooled off. So waiting to see if we can get that volume to start picking back up. As you can see, let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. You've got your volume really slowing up just a bit as your money flow is starting to increase. So that's going to be something we will have to do some battle with. So let's get this zoomed on in, take a look at our daily time frame, see what's going on. You've got some nice cool off on top of our support. You're getting a little bit overheated there on the daily as your money flows are breaking into the red. You can see that breaking into the red there. Money flow isn't looking too amazing. We would really need to get above some of these levels up here at $10.83. I know that's a big move towards the upside there, but you can see how much resistance it was. It's been resistance here, it's been resistance here, it's also been resistance here. So $10.83, it's a big move towards the upside, and you miss out on some movements, but that would lead me to a little bit of some bullishness and potentially making our way up to $16.91. This does look quite battered down. I don't know what they do, so I can't really speak too much on it outside of just doing some TA on the chart there. I'm going to short XRP at 589. What the heck? What are you talking about, sir? XRP $5. What? We're only at $3. Did find some nice support at 295. That was an area we've been watching for. So nice, strong bouncing level. Let's see what we're looking like on a higher term time frame. See what you're looking at. $5 and what was it? 89 cents for. Let's get that drawn on out with some fib extensions. See what we're looking at. We got our fib extension from our lows to our high to our low. Does that come in line with any of those levels you were talking about there? Let's get our fib retracement hidden so we can see things a little bit better. Got that nice strong bounce off of our 50. We've got our 1618 at 325. Let's see what some levels in between that would be. All right here. So we've got the 1618. So probably the 1382. Let's see. Down and 0.382. Coming in at 453. So let's get that moved to a little bit higher. 564. So pretty close in line with that 1382. Probably going to be the 50% there. So 0.5. Let's see on that. Pretty much that 0.5 on a 1.5 on our extension levels. So not necessarily a bad area. It's a meme. Oh, I didn't know. I don't pay attention to the internet. I do, but I don't, if you know what I mean. Like 5.8. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Slacking. Well, I get the joke now. You know, whoosh. But yeah, 589 may not be a bad area. I don't know if we get up there this cycle, but if you can hold some of these better levels here for XRP, might not be a bad area. Let's take a look at that Bitcoin chart. Whoo! That was a close one. Oh, seeing a little bit of some pullback after that all-time high. Let's get to our hourly here, see what we're looking at. Got a little bit of sideways momentum coming in on the prime oscillator, but you know, the move that we did talk about this morning was getting above our resistance line that is drawn all the way from previous cycles. So let's get that drawn on out here, see it a little bit better, because it runs from all-time high here to all-time high here, and we really saw that come in as some resistance multiple times this cycle. So we got that rejection off of it here, rejection off of it here, and we're struggling with it right now. So I did talk about wanting to see us get above it and then a retest on top of it and continue on towards the upside there. So that's that move I'd kind of keep my eye on. We did get that wick above it, our candle body close above it, and now we're waiting to see if we can get a retest on top of it. So let's see on the shorter term time frame what we got going on. Might have to zoom in a little bit further. I don't look at these short time frames very much, but here we are with a 1 minute chart, starting to see a little bit of sideways momentum coming on in. Prime oscillator also getting a little bit of sideways momentum. Money flow in the green, so definitely could see a little bit of bouncing on our old support line, on our old resistance line, and then get that continuation towards the upside. So not a bad little move for Bitcoin today. We did make some new all-time highs, seeing a little bit of pullback after that. My hype trade is doing well, so hopefully everyone has been making some money today and been having some fun as well. I don't have a whole lot more to take a look at. Not seeing any other stock requests. Oh, red. That was one to take a look at. Red. For Chris Klein. Red. I don't know. It was on the futures market. So I'm guessing this one. Nope. Not sure. So you'd have to let me know which one it was on. He was on 20x. That's what 200x leverage is for all set. Jesus. That is way too much. Redstone. It's a crypto. Red. All right, let's take a look at it. Here's the Coinbase chart for it. Never heard of it before, but looks like it is. It did diverge a little bit. You got that nice strong move up, and then you held our support line from way back there. So let's get that trend line drawn on out for you from our candle close here. We've got all of those touches directly on top of it. Look how nicely it pulled back to some support, got that bounce off. It is getting that little bit of a move towards the upside here. So let's see what we are looking like on the high term time frame for a fib level from our lows way back here to our highs all the way up at $1.01. Yeah, pretty much 1 cent, 101. So nice little bounce off of the platinum pocket as well. Really seeing that golden pocket coming as some local resistance for now, and then see if we can get that continued move towards the upside there. I'm actually sporting a 20x on my trades. I'm in an 8x leverage on my trade, so nothing too crazy, you know, but I'm also trading an alt, so you don't need super big leverage on your alts. 8x leverage, and I'm sitting with like 20% gains right now, so not terrible, not terrible. I'm not shooting for anything crazy. But I've definitely taken 75x leverage longs on Bitcoin, but that's like the only asset I'll do that on. So let's see what we're looking at for some redstone on a shorter term time frame here. Your money flow is looking nice and green, even with that pullback towards our platinum pocket. Nice little bouncing area. Would really like to get above that golden pocket. You're seeing a lot of resistance at that area. It does look like you're trying to reverse trend right now. You've got some local resistance directly above us at about 49 cents. So area to kind of keep your eye on. We've got the wicking action and the candle body closes that touch on that level. As you can see here, you've got your wicking action and candle body closes directly above us. Let's make that a shorter term time frame area to look for some resistance at 49.52. So you are trying to do a little bit of battle with that. You've got your very equal lows to contend with directly below us at 45.91. So that would be a little bit of a worry for me. There's probably some liquidity below that area. So looking like a little bit of a sideways momentum trade here. Could definitely see that continue up to 49.52. Hourly is looking a little bit toppy as well. Not too unexpected. You know, you are getting to the top side of this sideways range we are stuck in. Let's see what that 15-minute is looking like as well. 15 minutes getting some continuation towards the upside, but you've got a big selling wick here. We are struggling with this area just a little bit. 15-minute is seeing a little bit of sideways momentum come in, and it's getting some curvature as well on that prime oscillator. Your MACD is still pointed towards the upside. Your money flows nice and green here, so that could be what holds us up to see a little bit of some pushing back up towards the top side of our sideways range. Not too unexpected if that money flow keeps staying the way it is. So not a bad little range if you can trade that. You know, I would expect move towards the upside towards our resistance. that might not be a terrible area to short with how toppy your hourly is looking, how toppy the 15-minute is looking as well. Would really need to get above our local resistance, turn it into some support before I have any hopium towards a golden pocket push, which is really our next area of resistance at 53 cents. So not a bad little move there. Can you check on Solana? I definitely can check on some Solana. So let's get over to some Solana. It's been a little while since we've taken a... Actually, it hasn't been that long since we've taken a look at it. I think we took a look at it last week. We got that move down towards our 382. We're talking about the 236 area. And we've got our resistance area that we were wanting to take a look at 249. So let's get this on our daily. Daily is getting that nice little bouncing action on top of the 236. We've got more local resistance for us right now at 238. 238.38 actually on the change. So that is our local resistance for now. We will have to wait to see if we can get above that. We are doing a little bit of some cooling off on the higher term time frame here with this little bit of sideways momentum. We do see that MACD and prime oscillator getting a little bit of hopium here as you're seeing that curvature back up on the MACD. Your curvature back up on the prime oscillator. Really just waiting on some money flow to start catching back up here. So MACD and prime oscillator are running a little bit sideways, but they're starting to get some curvature back towards the upside. I would really want to see 238.38 broken first, and then we could continue on towards the upside. We do have some big upside targets for us. First one coming at 247.77, where we get our equal candle body closes. Let's get that marked on out. Let's make that a higher term time frame area. There we go. Going off those candle body closes, that'd be a nice little area to kind of keep your eye on. If we get above 238.38, that would be my next area to keep my eye on. If we get above that, we've got 265 coming into play. But let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at our hourly here. Does look like once again we're seeing a little bit of resistance at that 238.38. Getting a little bit of some rollover there. Really waiting to see if we can hold some of these levels as support directly below us and then get some continuation. We've got 234 being an area that's kind of interesting. So a short-term bouncing. Comes in off of rejections here as well. We've got our very equal candle bodies on it from right here. So a little bit of an area of interest if we can get some bouncing action off of that. See some sideways momentum on there. Could definitely see a nice little area to continue off of. If not, coming back down to 230 and our 382 would be an area of interest for me. So 234 going to be that first real area I'm going to keep my eye on, see if we can get some bouncing action off of it. That would continue with the upwards trend where we've got our higher lows and higher highs as well. But things are looking a little bit toppy, but it is October, so seeing some continuation when things are a little bit overheated, not too unexpected. You've got the 15-minute kind of starting a little bit of ranging action. You've got your lower high, but you're still making some higher lows here. So looking a little bit nice. Give me just a second. I'm getting a phone call. Sorry about that, folks. So that's that first area I'd kind of keep my eye on for Solana. 234.10, and we could get some more upside action off of that. That is a resistance area from here. You can kind of see how we also moved quite sideways through it as well. A little bit of a point of control. We do have all of that resistance on it right there as well. So first little bouncing area on the shorter term time frame, you are getting some cool off with this sideways momentum here as well. We are printing a little bit of a divergence though, so to see a little bit of some downside action in the short term time frame could definitely cool things off. Would also cool it off on about the hourly as well. So would need to see 234.10 hold to get that continuation up above 238. That's looking like a little bit of a sell wall for now. Let's get it moved actually on top of it. Pretty much 238 on the dot. That's where we're seeing that resistance. So that's our first area to contend with. Could get above that, and then you've got plenty of room to kind of run towards the upside. 242 would be another little area in between that to kind of see some resistance at. Let's get that higher term time frame, and then you could get that continuation on towards the upside there. So got a few levels above us to contend with, but we are in a nice little uptrend here. You are seeing that double thrust towards our resistance, and that's going to be our first area to contend with. So it is 2:23 my time. I've got to go pick up my girl's son from school. So that was what that call was about. So I appreciate everyone tuning on in today. Hopefully everyone's been having some fun, making some money. We will be back at it again next time I get a day off, and then we can have some more fun over here on Wall Street Weekly. Until then, we've got Good Morning Crypto every single morning at 6:45 Eastern Time. So tuning on in for the crypto specific shows. We set you on up with a trade for the day. We take a trade together as a community, which y'all get to pick on out. So hope to see y'all there, and until next time, I will see y'all in the chats.
This is Wall Street Weekly with PortCorp. Listen deeply, charts bleed reality. Green mixed with red, every ticker got a story, every dollar got a thread. Profits speak softly, losses scream loud. Bull markets whisper but the bears roar proud. Investing's more than digits, it's decoding minds. Patterns in the chaos, treasures you can find. Eyes wide open, stay sharp and precise, cause easy money's myth, truth comes with a price. Watch the money flow, truth hidden in disguise. Risk what you know, wealth favors the wise. If you ain't thinking deeper than your pockets leak weekly, get your mind right. Get your mind right. Tune in to Wall Street Weekly. With PortCorp, we're making sense of the madness. Truth in the numbers, clarity from the vastness.